There, go.
If you look in the pot, you will see that it is starting to get a white foam across it. Only thing that's in here is the milk and the sugar. But if you see this film starting to form like this, that means it's getting ready to boil. So when it's getting ready to boil, you're going to turn this down. I still leave it at about a 4 because you want it to get hot, but you don't want it to get too hot. As I said, it'll scorch, and scorched fudge no taste good.
And
Gonna
Jimmy,
let this cook, and when it comes back to the rolling boil, I'll show you exactly what they're looking for and what you want to do at that point. You let it boil for 8 minutes. The reason I say 8 minutes is that most people have figured out that 8 minutes brings your mixture up to 234 degrees. And you don't have to have the thermometer or anything to read 234. You can use a thermometer, it's 234, softball stage, or just let it boil for 8 minutes. 8 minutes should give you the softball stage with no problem. But we'll show rolling boil looks like when we come back. Sorry we're in 2 parts here, guys, but that's the magic of video. If you look here in the pot, you see how you constantly have a bubble coming up. Can you see that? This is what we call a rolling boil. You don't want to let your stuff get too hot because, as you see, it's rising up in the pot. Keep it turned down and set it for 8 minutes. If it starts to get too high, take it off the heat for a minute. It's not going to hurt it. It is not going to hurt it. Take it off the heat. It's a lot better to take it off the heat than to let it boil over onto your stovetop. Believe me, this stuff is very unforgiving when it comes to getting it clean.
another thing is do not allow kids in the kitchen when you make this.
Yes. This, or even the last time we made caramel, I almost poured it on myself, so you have to be careful.
I see you got a bigger bowl.
Yes, Jimmy was worried about my competence in the kitchen, so he felt that he had to get a bigger bowl. As you see, when you move it off the heat, obviously, it's going to stop boiling for a second. If it does, that's okay because it's going to take you a minute to get it off the heat. When you mix the two, mix this into your chocolate, which is what you're going to do after the 8 minutes. You do want to occasionally stir this, but you don't have to constantly stir it. Once it begins to rapidly boil and rolling boil, you don't have to cook it, or you don't have to stir it constantly. Until it's boiling, you do want to stir it constantly. Make sure you get the edges of your pots. Make sure you get all the way around the bottom of your pot. With this stuff here, I'm serious, you've had some nasty things, but you don't want to have scorched fudge. Especially when you're expecting that nice, good, smooth bite, and then all of a sudden, here comes the scorch. I can't really describe it to you. I kind of just have to hope you never have to discover it for yourself, because it is not good. As Mama would say, it was terrible.
What else you sell in the bakery?
I'll tell you guys about Mama one day when we have some time to kill on a recipe or something. Our recipes in our bakery, we like to present an old world feel. We like to make breads and pastries and desserts that have been forgotten over the years, or a lot of people go, what is the name of this or that or the other thing? Or they know the name of it, but they just don't have the time or the patience or even sometimes the understanding to make these particular things. And so they would love to have them again, and it's something their grandmother made or their great-grandmother made, but they just don't know how to do it. And that's why we at Sugar Bear's Bakery try to recreate that feeling of home, recreate that feeling of old world, and sugar cookies in front of a roaring fire in the winter, and red, white, and blue cakes out in the backyard at the picnic, family picnic during the summer. We try to bring back those memories. We try to bring back those things. And that's, I think, we do a pretty good job of. We've been recommended by a lot of people for that. And it's not just sweets. It's not just sweets. It's also any baked good. And breads, cakes, cookies, anything where someone has forgotten the magic that it brought to their life.
How much more minutes you got it on the stove?
I've got about 3 minutes left on this stove. Pardon me touching my face. Yes, 2 minutes and 38 seconds, to tell you the truth.
All right.
Oh, that's the timer. And that means this should be 234 degrees. And this is what it's going to look like. It's reduced some. The rolling boil has slowed, and it is not rising to the top of the pot like it was before. Okay, so we're going to turn this off. And as I talk to you, those are the few seconds that I had to take it off the burner and back on the burner to do that. Okay? Now, I'm going to say this to you because common sense is not common anymore. Do not use anything but Pyrex for this next step, or a heat-safe bowl of some kind. I always recommend glass, and I always recommend Pyrex for this.
When's the vanilla got to go in?
We're going to take this and we're going to mix it in the bowl. Another little secret to my success is a secret that my grandmother taught me when she was helping teach me how to cook. If you're going to put something hot into glass, what do, Jimmy? Do you know?
No, what?
put a metal spoon in the bowl first.
Well, it helps cool down.
It absorbs the shock, because what happens when you put cold on hot, it shocks the two, and that's what shatters your glass. The spoon will absorb the heat and absorb the shock. But now what we're going to do is melt our chocolate and our marshmallow and our butter. Ow! That's smarted. Don't do that, kids. But we're going to get this all blended in. Oh, so smooth, so nummy. I am a diabetic myself, so these things have been forbidden to me. But I enjoy making them almost as much as I enjoy eating them. And here's a little secret also, another little secret. I'm just full of little secrets. If you take this bowl right now and you put it on your blender, or your mixer, excuse me. I always call blenders mixers and mixers blenders, I don't know why. But if you put this on your mixer on slow speed, it will beat this all for you, and it will mix it all together, and it will give you a nice homogeneous, as they say, lump of fudge. Now this butter is melting. Remember, we had 4 sticks in there, or 4 half sticks in there. 2 full sticks. Don't get confused with what I say. I had half sticks because Land O'Lakes in their wisdom has decided to give you 8 half sticks instead of 4 sticks. It should be 1 cup, 4 sticks, 8 half. Try it again, Jerry. Lord. 2 sticks, 4 half sticks, 1 cup of butter, and it is melting. I can see it. You could see it if you were standing here, but then again, if you were standing here, I wouldn't have to be filming. But that's all right. When we get this mixed together, I'll show you poured out in the pan. Jimmy might want to do that right now while the rest of this butter's melting. Again, this is a 15 by 10 sheet pan, a sheet cake pan or a jelly roll pan, lined with parchment. It's going to make it thinner, faster to cool. It's already going to make it in the small bite size because this is some rich stuff. You don't want too much of it. And this recipe right here makes 5 pounds of fudge. So it is wonderful to make for the holiday season.
How much do you charge for the fudge?
Fudge is $8 a pound if you come to Sugar Bear's Bakery. But if you come to Sugar Bear's Bakery, your first order is always 10% off too. So, you know, you can use that for your holiday shopping. You can use that for an idea for, you know, come and order a whole bunch of stuff and then it's like ordering 3 cakes and, you know, actually like ordering 9 cakes and getting the 10th one free. Kind of like. You know. And you know what? You want to order 10 cakes, I'll sure make them for you. I'll even decorate them. We've got holiday pans, we've got holiday ideas, we've got all kinds of good holiday things. That's Jimmy's big thing is Christmas. I love Christmas too, but not like Jimmy. With Jimmy, it's like an obsession. Jimmy is Christmas and Harry Potter. So I don't get it. Now look at this, kids. Look at that. That is what we call a beautiful fudge.
What about the vanilla?
If Jimmy would give me a half a minute. This is what you want to have. You want this all whipped together. Then I switch from my spoon to my spatula that's got the rest of the marshmallow on it. And we're going to put 2 tablespoons of vanilla. Sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. I'll tell you. Vanilla and salt, which I did not put in here. Salt brings out flavor. That's why everybody puts it into their frozen food, to make sure it's got a lot of flavor. But it's very bad for you, so I don't put it in. This particular recipe also calls for a cup of walnuts or pecans. Jimmy and I try to avoid cooking with nuts. And we just found out a friend of ours is also going to have to be on a gluten-free diet. So very soon, gluten-free is going to have to be added to our menu as well. Don't worry. If it's not worth eating, we're not going to sell it. If it's not tasty, if it's not up to our quality, it's just not going to get sold. But that's what it looks like. That's what your fudge is going to look like. Pardon the little bubbles in there. That's because I was just beating it to get the vanilla in. And then we're going to take it over here. And another little cheating. I'm going to spray this paper with a little bit of non-stick. That keeps the paper from sticking to my fudge.
What are you making this for?
To sell.
At the bakery or a bazaar?
Whoever wants it. If somebody wants to come to me right now and say, Jerry, I need 5 pounds of chocolate fudge, I got it ready for them. You know what? I'll make more. I'm not too proud. But I do have a feeling that I was misinformed as to the amount of fudge that this pan will hold. But it's all going in, so it's okay. Just use a 9x13 pan and let it chill for the little bit longer it's going to take, because this is right up to the edges. It's right up to the edges, and you want to be careful with that.
Holy shit.
Now, you know what, kids? Sugar Bears has done it again. I don't like to lick my hands in the kitchen. Occasionally I do that. I catch myself and I wash up. Because I always like to have clean hands in my kitchen. Okay, that's our fudge. And quite a few more to go, but it's good for now.
Okay.
All right,